involvement and to grow our partnerships with strong organizations such as the NAACP. We salute the NAACP on this centennial. Congratulations on this milestone occasion.
At important moments in our history, the labor movement and the civil rights movement have quite literally walked a common path. As a union, the UAW, led by Walter Reuther, embraced and strongly supported the civil rights movement, including the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, and marched alongside Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as he sought to make America a more just nation. In 1963, the UAW gave Dr. King office space at its headquarters at Solidarity House in Detroit. This is where the Nobel Prize winner penned his I Have a Dream speech that was first spoken during Detroit's Walk to Freedom March. The UAW provided financial support, and Reuther stood beside King again 2 months later when the speech made history in Washington, D.C. The reason we share so much history, the reason we have so often literally walked a common path, is that we share a common vision. It's a vision that's grounded in the democratic principles on which our country was founded, but that also recognizes that our democracy is not perfect. The great task of American history is to extend democracy's promise to excluded groups, to non-property owners, to women, to African Americans, to immigrants. The UAW has made civil rights a labor issue, and the erosions of unions is a civil rights issue. Today, we are working aggressively with the NAACP and other allies to repeal voter suppression laws, pay equity measures, and anti-immigrant laws. We continue in the struggle for social and economic justice for all people because it's the right thing to do. We will not accept workers being told that we cannot have decent wages and pensions. We will not accept unconscionable cuts in funding for K through 12. We will not accept 1 in 4 American children living in poverty and hunger. We will not accept home foreclosures on hard-working Americans who are out of work or underpaid. We will not accept workers being stripped of their collective bargaining rights. We must fight against injustice. What's at stake is the right of all working men and women to dignity and fair treatment on the job. What's at stake is our ability to provide all our children with a better life. What's at stake is our continuing struggle to overcome the legacy of racism and discrimination. What's at stake is the soul of our democracy. In this new century, our two movements, labor and civil rights, will rise and fall together. We must continue to walk a common path.
Good evening. I'm Bob King, President of the UAW, and I'm joined here tonight with our Vice Presidents, General Holyfield and Jimmy Settles and Cindy Estrada. We bring greetings to all of our friends in the Detroit NAACP, and they're here tonight to celebrate the 100th anniversary. And I'm reminded of Dr. Martin Luther King's speech at Riverside Church in New York about the Vietnam War. And he talked about there was a certain point when silence becomes betrayal. And we see everything that the NAACP and all of their community allies, including the labor movement and many others, we see all the progress that we've made over the last 50 years, over the last 100 years, really at stake with attacks on voter suppression bills in states across the country. We see anti-immigration bills. We see attacks at human rights, civil rights, the right to collective bargaining. So we commit ourselves anew tonight with all of you, with the Detroit chapter and with the national NAACP, that we will stand with you for human rights and civil rights. Together we can build and make a better world. We're doing it with our partners in the automotive industry, with General Motors, with Ford, and with Chrysler. Working together, we're creating tens of thousands of jobs across the country, and I'm extremely proud of the job that General Holyfield and Jimmy Settles and Joe Ashton have done here in the city of Detroit. Just this week, Vice President Jimmy Settles, working with Ford Motor Company, announced that Ford and the UAW, working with the supplier industry, had gotten commitments for new plants in the city of Detroit, 1,500 jobs. You add to that the work that General Holyfield did with the Chrysler Corporation, thousands and thousands of new jobs at JNAP, Jefferson North Assembly Plant, the great work that Mark Royce and our Vice President Joe Ashton and the top leadership of General Motors and the Hamtramck facility and so many other facilities in Detroit and Michigan. We're all working together, committing ourselves in the next 100 years to build a better America and a better world. Thank you very much.
The Coca-Cola Company is committed to supporting organizations that make a unique and sustainable difference in their local communities. That's why we have been a longtime supporter and strong advocate of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the nation's oldest civil rights organization. Coca-Cola supports the NAACP because of its extraordinary efforts to advocate for education, social justice, and economic equality for all persons. Our support is both national and local. In Detroit, Coca-Cola has supported the Detroit branch NAACP's Art and Essay Competition for the past 20 years. This program encourages Detroit's youth to express their views of the civil rights struggle through written and visual art. Each year, scholarships are awarded to 6 students from elementary, middle, and high schools to continue their artistic and writing endeavors. The Coca-Cola Company also supports the National Act So competition that recruits, stimulates, and encourages high academic and cultural achievement among African American high school students. And 2 years ago, the Coca-Cola Company began supporting the NAACP's Project Help, a comprehensive national education and community awareness program that addresses nutrition, physical activity, and healthy lifestyle changes in 7 states, including Virginia, the District of Columbia, Texas, New York, Indiana, Washington, and Alabama. The Coca-Cola Company is proud to support the work of the NAACP, and tonight we salute the Detroit NAACP on 100 years of instilling hope, inspiration, and opportunities.
Good evening. Shh. Good evening, Reverend Wendell Anthony, Darnell White, all of our elected officials. I bring you greetings from all of my colleagues at the Coca-Cola Company. In the video, you saw one of the things that we are most proud of, and that is the support of educational initiatives of the NAACP Detroit's branch. Those initiatives are driven by my colleague, Percy Wells, who is Vice President of Public Affairs and Communications. We have partnered with the Detroit branch over the decades to address the real quality of life issues facing this community. And I will close by simply saying that you should be very proud of the Detroit branch of the NAACP. As I said earlier, the NAACP is a movement. Our country is better because of this movement, and the Detroit branch has so much to do with making it better. Thank you.
The General Motors family would like to extend our congratulations and best wishes to the Detroit branch of the NAACP on the remarkable occasion of its 100th birthday. All of us at GM are extremely proud of the work your organization has done, and we're thrilled to be able to continue our long-standing support of the Detroit branch NAACP. Having just celebrated a centennial of our own a few years ago, we at GM know exactly what it means for the Detroit branch NAACP to mark its 100th anniversary. It means you've done a lot of good, for a lot of people for a long time. We know you'll continue to do so both near and long term, and we're happy to help. GM has shown unwavering support for the city of Detroit through good times and bad, and that support will remain steadfast. Because we're all in this together. We've invested in this city with our people and, more importantly, with our time. The GM Foundation has donated more than $100 million in the past decade in Metro Detroit to help children and young adults get a better education, to bolster arts programs, and to improve the city's unique destinations. And of course, GM has been a longtime sponsor of the Fight for Freedom Fund Dinner. Congratulations again to the Detroit Branch NAACP. We look forward to another successful 100 years of collaboration and impact on the Detroit community.
Well, thank you, everybody, and good evening. My name is Mark Royce, and I'm so proud and happy to be here this evening. It's a real honor for me not only to attend the annual Fight for Freedom Fund Dinner, but also be asked to say a few words. On behalf of everyone at General Motors, I'd like to extend my congratulations and best wishes to the Detroit branch of the NAACP on its 100th birthday. I believe that God is indeed watching over all of us tonight. As I wrote in the letter for our dinner program, GM marked its centennial a few years ago, so we know exactly what it means for the Detroit branch to turn 100. It means you've done a lot of good for a lot of people for a long, long time. And you do it because you care. You care about this city, and General Motors cares about this city. It is our home. It is my home. We're the largest corporate sponsor of the Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial that opened in Washington this last year, with more than $10 million in donations from GM, Chevrolet, and the GM Foundation together. I had the privilege of participating in the dedication of the memorial, a once-in-a-lifetime event that I will never forget. And I'm reminded tonight, as I was then, of a quote from Dr. King who said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others and each other?" That is an appropriate sentiment tonight, because for the past 100 years, few organizations have done as much to support this city than the Detroit branch of the NAACP. And I'm honored to work for a company that has supported you, in turn, nearly every step of the way. From sponsoring this fantastic dinner every year to donating the building in which the Detroit branch is housed, GM has had a long relationship with this institution. And like you, we have tried to help as much as we can with our money and our time. The GM Foundation has donated more than $50 million in the past decade here in Detroit to help our children and our young adults get a better education, among other things. Last year, the GM Foundation made the largest grant in its history in our greatest time of need, $27 million to the United Way of Southeast Michigan to help raise rates in our 7 Detroit area high schools. We've supported Focus Hope, the Center for Creative Studies, and the Detroit Economic Growth Association for community center upgrades. These are so important in our community. As we see, as Mayor Bing mentioned tonight, all ages use these recreational centers, so we must keep them going. And our GM Team Cares employee volunteers have been helping around the city, doing everything from student mentoring to beautification activities. We are committed with our time as well. I could go on, but you get the point. You care, we care, and I personally care. This is important to me because I grew up here and I want this city to be the very best it can be. You always hear people saying and longing for the good old days when Detroit used to be in a lot better shape than it is now. But guess what? I can remember when it was in worse shape, much worse shape. The city is changing for the better, and we absolutely must keep the momentum going. We can't do it without you. And I'm here to reaffirm GM's commitment to help Detroit for another 100 years at least. One nation, under God, indivisible. Let's get on with it. And congratulations and happy birthday, and have a great night. Thank you.
Greeting freedom fighters from First Independence Bank, your only bank headquartered in the city of Detroit. As this year's co-chair, I am honored to welcome you to the NAACP Detroit Branch Centennial Celebration and the 57th Annual Fight for Freedom Fund Dinner. Throughout the 100-year history of the NAACP Detroit Branch, we've witnessed changes that have encouraged and mobilized political, educational, social, and economic equality of all persons in an effort to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. The struggle continues, and the challenges we face are real. We must be humbled by the task before us, as it is our duty to unite our communities as one force with the same goal. We shall support each other as advocates for equal rights for all persons. During our mission, let us remember that we are committed to remembering the past as we look forward to change the future. I salute all of the NAACP presidents and the longest-standing president, Dr. Reverend Wendell Anthony. A special thank you to the NAACP branch employees for your unwavering dedication and commitment. Many blessings to all.
Good evening, Detroit. I'd like to say congratulations to the Detroit Branch NAACP for 100 years of service. I am truly honored to be a part of this celebration, this historical moment, and the celebration of the 57th Annual Fight for Freedom Fund Dinner. We all thank you, all the board members and staff, for your commitment and passion to the